If you don't like living with family, you can leave. If you don't like living with family, you can leave, my mom said. I paid $11,400 in monthly bills while they lived rent-free in my house for 10 months. I cooked, cleaned, even gave up my office for my brother. When I asked for space, she said, "We're your family. Act like it." That night, I slept in the car. At dawn, I made a single transfer. She didn't know it, but she had just signed her own way out. If you don't like living with family, you can leave, my mom said, arms crossed as if she were delivering divine wisdom instead of a dismissal. I stared at her, still holding the bag of groceries I had just hauled up 3 flights of stairs in the pouring rain. My hoodie was soaked, my knees ached. My phone buzzed nonstop with work messages I hadn't answered all day because I'd been cleaning the kitchen after my brother left it looking like a frat house sink. And that was her response, her idea of resolution. No thank you for the food, no sorry for yelling last night when I asked for privacy in the one room I technically still had. Just that, you're lucky to have a roof over your head. She turned her back like she had just dropped the mic. I paid for the roof, $11,400 over 10 months. That is what I'd covered. Rent, Wi-Fi, water, gas, groceries, streaming subscriptions, the entire electric bill when they forgot to pay it last winter. They lived in my apartment. My name was on the lease. My credit was at stake. But they called it our place. And somehow that meant I owed them more. And the worst part? I let them. I gave up my home office so my brother could game in peace. I cooked dinner 5 nights a week. I vacuumed. I even paid for mom's allergy meds when she didn't want to bother the insurance. I did all of that quietly because that's what family does, right? But the moment I asked for space, just 1 hour a night where I could close my door and not hear TikTok videos blaring through the wall, she hit me with, "We're your family. Act like it." That night, I didn't go to bed. I didn't even go back inside. I slept in my car. My feet froze against the floor mat, and the back seat dug into my spine like a metal rib cage. I lay there under an old moving blanket, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become the villain in my own apartment. At dawn, I got out, walked to the 24-hour gas station, bought a coffee with the last $5 in my Venmo. Then I made a single bank transfer. It was quiet, just a few taps, one confirmation code. She didn't know it yet, but she had just signed her own way out. They moved in 10 months ago, just for a little while. That was the phrase Mom used, in that guilty, sweet voice she pulls out when she needs a favor. Just until your dad's surgery clears. Just until your brother finishes the semester. I agreed. Stupidly, I agreed. The lease was in my name. I had the master bedroom. I'd worked 5 years in finance to afford that space, and it finally felt like my own. I had an office with a window, a mattress that didn't sink, a kitchen where the knives were always sharp. But within 2 weeks of their arrival, the apartment stopped being mine. Dad took the recliner permanently, left a dent in it the shape of his disappointment. The TV was always on. Mom took over the pantry. Suddenly there were religious magnets on my fridge and sticky notes on my food. "Don't touch. Mom's yogurt." As if I was the guest. My brother Jason took my office. Literally. "Bro, I need a place to study. Finals are killing me," he said, already dragging in his monitor before I could even answer. He was 23, taking online classes, failing 2 of them. I asked if he could keep it down after 10 p.m. because I had early meetings. His response, "It's not just your place, man. Chill." By the 3rd month, I was cooking every meal because nobody else liked frozen stuff. I was paying all the bills because we were still waiting on Dad's disability check. I was scrubbing the bathroom I shared with a guy who thought soap magically disappeared. And somehow they still acted like they were doing me a favor, like I should be grateful for the company. Then came the first humiliation. It was a Tuesday. I was running late for a Zoom call, couldn't find my charger. Jason had taken it, again. When I knocked on my old office door to ask for it back, he didn't even pause his game. "Bro, I told you don't knock like that. You're freaking out my squad." I stood there stunned, in my own apartment, asking for my own charger. Mom popped her head out of the kitchen and said, Sweetheart, just let him focus. He's under a lot of pressure. I was under pressure. I was working 12-hour shifts to cover 4 people's lives, but no one saw that. Then came Facebook. A picture showed up one night, tagged by my aunt. A family barbecue, my living room. My grill. Dad, smiling with a beer. Jason with his arm around a girl I'd never met. Mom had captioned it, "Family is everything, nothing more sacred than being under one roof together." I wasn't in the photo, I was in my room, on a deadline, editing someone else's budget report for the 3rd time. No invite, no heads up, no plate saved. The comments rolled in, "So happy you're all together again. Your boys look so grown up. What a beautiful home." Mom replied to one, "We're blessed. It's ours. Feels like heaven." Ours. That was the last straw, but not for them, because that's when they started really testing me. Jason began using my Uber account. I only found out when I got a $92 charge for a 2 a.m. ride. He denied it until I showed him the receipt with his drop-off address. Then he said, "You make 6 figures. You're really counting pennies now?" I asked Mom about it. She sighed, "You know how hard it is for him to ask for help. Just let it go." Then Dad stepped in. "You're getting bitter. I didn't raise you to be selfish." I didn't respond. I was too busy checking my savings account, watching it drain like a slow leak. Then came the worst part, the family group chat. It started small, Jason sending memes, Mom posting blurry photos of the cat, Dad trying to be funny. Until one night I found this, a picture of me, asleep at my desk, taken through the crack of my door, captioned, "Look at this guy, works all day and still can't afford to move out." Dozens of laughing emojis, a reply from my cousin. "Bro looks like a kid office for a year soon. See, I found him." Someone even made a GIF. I stared at it for 20 minutes. I didn't blink. I walked into the living room, phone in hand. Jason was laughing at something on his screen. Mom was crocheting. Dad had his feet up. I said, "Who took this?" No one answered. I repeated, "Who took the photo?" Jason shrugged. "Relax, man. It's just jokes." That night, I checked the lease. Dad didn't even look up. "Don't act like a baby. It's family." Then Mom, sipping tea like it was wine. "You're always so sensitive. Maybe if you got more sleep, you wouldn't look like that." That night, I checked the lease they never read, the lease I held, and I realized something chilling. Not only did they treat me like a servant, they thought I couldn't or wouldn't do anything about it. The next day, I found my external drive. Inside it, a folder I'd forgotten I started during lockdown. Screenshots, spreadsheets, voice notes, rent receipts, audio recordings like the one from March, where Mom said, "Don't tell him we used the rent money for Jason's laptop. He'll just get dramatic." I saved everything. Then I checked the shared Wi-Fi router logs. Jason had been using my email to apply for crypto accounts. I confronted him. He denied it, until I played a voice memo from a customer service call. His voice, my name. They crossed the line, but I wasn't going to scream. Not yet. I just backed up the files, sent a few copies to a lawyer friend, one to my own cloud, another to a private email only I could access, and then I did something else. I messaged our landlord. I told him I'd be moving out at the end of the month. Not alone, but with the lease. He didn't know it yet, but Jason had just lost his gamer cave. Mom was about to lose her yoga nook. Dad was going to lose his recliner and his cable. And when they asked why, I'd show them the photo, the caption, and every emoji that followed. The knock came at 7:18 a.m. Too early for anyone in this house to be awake. I was already dressed, coffee in hand. I'd been waiting for this moment for 2 weeks. Jason stumbled out of my old office, hair a mess, eyes puffy. "Bro, can you get that? I was up late." "You might want to be up now," I said. He blinked. "What?" Then the second knock came, louder. Behind it stood 3 people. Mr. Collins, my landlord, khakis and clipboard in hand. Officer Romero, city badge, calm but firm. A woman in a navy blazer, someone from the housing board. Jason opened the door and nearly dropped his Red Bull. "Good morning," Mr. Collins said, not smiling. I'm here to inspect the premises for tenant complaint. Jason looked back at me. Complaint? He asked, his voice already cracking. Yeah, I said, stepping forward. Apparently someone filed a complaint about illegal activity and tenant abuse under my name. I didn't flinch because I knew who did it. 3 nights ago, I got an email from the rental board. A report had been filed accusing me of overcrowding, verbal abuse, and theft. Anonymously, of course. But guess whose IP address matched the one tied to the complaint? Jason's. I had the full server trace, printed and clipped in a folder. That folder was now in Mr. Collins's hands. Officer Romero turned to me. You're the leaseholder? I nodded, already pulling out my driver's license and lease copy. Yes, sir, leaseholder. Utilities under my name. Rent paid on time every month. I've got bank statements if you want them. He glanced at Jason. And these people live here. How? Jason hesitated. We're family. They're not on the lease, I cut in. Not one of them. Collins flipped to the tenant list. Correct. Only one name here. Yours. That's when the yelling started. Mom came out of the bedroom in her robe. Aaron Curtis, what's going on? Why are strangers in my house? Your house? Collins said sharply. Ma'am, this unit is leased to your son. He's the only legal occupant. You are, in fact, here without authorization. She blinked, stunned. But we're family. Officer Romero pulled out a notepad. Ma'am, do you have any documentation? Mail addressed here, lease addendum, anything? Dad emerged next, shirtless, frowning like someone had just ruined his Sunday golf. You can't just barge into our home. It's not your home, Dad, I said quietly. It's mine. Or at least, it was. Then I looked at Jason. I know you filed the complaint. His face twisted. I didn't. I pulled out the printout and handed it to the housing board rep. Trace data matched your device. Same time you borrowed my charger. Again. Officer Romero skimmed it, nodded once, then turned to Collins. Well, this is clear enough. Mr. Collins folded his clipboard. They have 48 hours, he said, to pack and leave. Or I file for formal eviction, and this visit goes into the report. Either way. That's when it hit them. Jason went pale. Mom dropped onto the couch like her bones gave up. Dad's fists curled. You're destroying your own family, he barked. No, I said calmly. You destroyed it the night you laughed at me in the group chat. The night you posted my face online like a joke. The night you told me to leave if I didn't like it here. I stepped toward the door. Good news, I left. Then I held up a second folder. But not before pulling every financial record, every chat, every audio. Like this one. I tapped my phone. Dad's voice crackled from the speaker. Let's just drain him. He makes good money. He owes us. We raised him. Mom's voice followed. Don't tell him about the laptop or the crypto stuff. He gets dramatic. Jason lunged, trying to grab the phone. Officer Romero stepped between us. I suggest you calm down, sir. And then the final blow. Mr. Collins looked up from his clipboard. Since they're not listed, and since the lease expires next month, you've asked for non-renewal. I nodded. He turned to the rest. Which means none of you have legal right to return after 48 hours. The locks will be changed. Jason whispered, you're bluffing. I opened my wallet, pulled out the receipt from the locksmith I scheduled for Friday. Try me. They said nothing, so I walked to the door, hand on the knob, paused just long enough to look back. You said I could leave. I opened the door. But you're the ones who'll be packing. Click. The door shut behind me, and I didn't look back. The first transfer came in at 3:12 and I'm at $3,000. Sender. Mom, note, for everything. Hope it helps. I didn't smile. I didn't get angry. I took a screenshot. Saved it in a new Google Drive folder. Renamed it Dead Accounts. The second came at dawn, $600. From my brother. I didn't know it hurt you this much. The third, silent, $2,000. No message, just a number like everything Dad ever gave when words wouldn't come. Altogether, $5,600 after $114,000 in covered bills, rent, groceries, internet, In damage control, this wasn't repayment. This was a buyback offer, a last-minute bid to rent my forgiveness. 2 days before that, I finished the final document, a 14-page financial breakdown titled 10 Months of Loyalty, One Invoice. Clean, sharp, cold, page by page. Rent, $65,000, utilities, $8,200 groceries, delivery, household items, $10,600 medical expenses, mom's prescriptions, $5,000, Jason's electronics, rides, subscriptions, $6,400, lost bonuses, sick days, therapy from burnout, $18,800, total, $114,000. Repaid by family, $0. And right under it, funds received post-eviction, $5,600, emotionally irrelevant. I attached it to 3 emails. To mom, via her old Gmail. To Jason, Telegram message. To dad, iCloud inbox. I still had access to. 3 minutes later, mom called. I blocked her. Then I got to work. Every account unlinked. Payments canceled. Streaming services wiped clean. The Netflix she couldn't live without? Gone. The family plan phone line dad never paid for? Deactivated. I opened a new savings account. Named it Emergency Fund, Me Only. Changed passwords. Upgraded. A few days later, mom found a workaround. Firewalls? No more. For convenience? No more. Just until payday? No more. Loopholes for guilt? Closed. I set my phone wallpaper to black text on white. The last time I paid for peace, it cost $114,000. Never again. A few days later, mom found a workaround. She messaged me from her sister's account, like a teenager hiding behind the neighbor's Wi-Fi. We didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't throw your family away. Jason feels terrible. Your father's ashamed. You always wanted distance. We didn't think you meant this. I didn't reply with words. I replied with one file. Lease termination signed .pdf, signed by the landlord, stamped, dated the day they were told to leave for good. At the bottom, I'd handwritten, "This ends our legal, financial, and emotional contract. Goodbye." I hit send. There were no more messages after that. Not from Jason. Not after I revoked his access to my PayPal, where he'd been secretly linking his Fortnite subscriptions for months. Yes, I knew. I waited. Then I cut him off with one click. Before I deleted the thread, I forwarded all 3 transfers, the apology money, to a youth housing charity, all $5,600. The donation message read, "Let someone else start where I had to end." Silence followed. But it wasn't the old kind, not the awkward, angry silence of a house too small for 4 egos and 1 paycheck. This was mine. Real silence. I drank coffee on my balcony, hearing nothing but traffic and birds. No yelling through walls. No gamer screams. No footsteps pacing outside my door. My space, my lease, my lock, my end, my beginning. I opened Google Drive, right-clicked the old folder with all their rare photos, messages, bills, family archived, and clicked Move to Trash. The confirmation pop-up asked, "Are you sure you want to delete this folder?" I didn't hesitate. I was already gone. They always said I was the good one. Quiet, responsible, reliable, the one who answered messages, paid bills, bought groceries, remembered birthdays, the one who forgave again and again and again. I thought that made me strong. Turns out, it just made me useful. Useful is not love. It took me 10 months and $114,000 to realize being needed isn't the same as being valued. Loyalty without boundaries is servitude. Kindness, when expected, becomes a leash. They didn't ask, "Are you okay?" They asked, "What else can you give?" And I gave. My money, my office, my sanity, my silence. Until the day I didn't. People think explosions are loud, but sometimes the most powerful break is quiet. Not a scream, not a slammed door, just a decision that never turns around. No revenge post, no public dragging, no messages sent in all caps, just one transfer. One lease termination, one signage, and then nothing, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. I kept thinking back to that night, the night I slept in my car because they made my home feel like a hotel lobby I wasn't welcome in. Mom's voice echoing, if you don't like living with family, you can leave. She didn't say it as a suggestion. She said it as a dare. So I took the dare and raised her with silence. Now I wake up and don't check my phone. I drink my coffee while it's still hot. My shoes are where I left them. My groceries last all week. My name isn't the one they use in jokes anymore because it's not in their mouths. It's not in their group chats. It's not theirs anymore. I thought helping meant loving, but they thought helping meant owning. And maybe my biggest mistake wasn't the money. It was not saying no the first time they called me ungrateful. Not walking away when they laughed behind my back in the family chat. Not ending it when Jason used my PayPal like his personal playground. But that's the thing about survival. It teaches you to hold on longer than you should, even to people who only call you family when you're paying. I'm done holding on. I'm not heartless. I'm healed. I opened the last app that still had their names in it, the family group chat. Dad hadn't messaged in weeks. Jason left the group after the eviction. Mom was still there, still typing. I hovered over the chat, pressed, leave group, confirm, yes. The screen blinked. Then, nothing. And it felt like peace. Not loud, not dramatic, just peace.